See if I turn that off. There we go. Chat's out of the way. And I'm going to minimize our recording. Day three of Blender and Photoshop for telling a story. Welcome once again. We have other new students today. We have like two more new students today. All right, so so far we've been building this concept of creating assets inside of a 3D program. Our 3D program of choice is Blender 3D. We've been so far talking about modeling, how to model things, how to add extra geometry to it, so you can extrude or create more shapes from those 3D objects. Okay. We're going to talk about texturing today. So here, I'm going to hit the Shift A. So far, we basically, let me come over here to my my mesh, and we'll hit and grab a cylinder. Just watch me. I don't want you to follow me. And I'm going to talk about some fundamental concepts, because I have people online here who are from another program. They could be from Maya, they can be from Lightwave, and Blender is completely unique from any program out there. And I want to talk about some fundamental stuff that's going to be really critical to understanding how and why Blender works the way it does. In most 3D programs, you can make something larger or bigger or extrude things off of it, and it's done. Once you've created your shape, it's set in stone, it's done. In Blender, that's not necessarily the case. Blender is the first 100% non-destructive 3D program in the industry. Okay, most programs like Lightwave, which these guys are working in, is a completely destructive program. So, for example, in Lightwave, I'm going to go to my transform tool. If I tell this that this is going to be long, I'm going to stretch it out like this. In Lightwave and Maya, that's the case. It's pretty much set in stone. That's how large it's going to be. In Blender, that's not necessarily the case. Okay, so we talked about two modes you're working in Blender. If I hit the Tab key, you have your object mode and your edit mode. Now, just as a quick little housekeeping here, for those who are here in the classroom, your computer reset Blender. So we have to go back and reorganize our preferences once again. And that's fine, and I'll be willing to do that right now. So you can follow me along in this next step, which means go to your edit menu and go to preferences, right? And one of the first things, now go ahead and follow me on this one, because we need to reset all these preferences once again. One of the first things was the input. And we want your input, your mouse, to act like a 3-button mouse, right? By default, that's unchecked, so make sure that is checked. Okay. If we go to the navigation, you want to make sure you're orbiting around your selection. Make sure that is checked. So whatever object you select, or whatever is selected in your scene, that is what your program's going to rotate around when you rotate your scene. We go to key map, and make sure by default tab for pie menu is unchecked. Make sure that is checked. Yours, yours was unchecked the whole time. Okay, all right. Let me go to the system and see what we've got. Okay, now I have an NVIDIA card, so I hit the CUDA button. I don't believe your machines have NVIDIA, so just ignore all this then. Okay. And then that was pretty much it. The last thing we did was went to the add-ons. And one of the add-ons I want you to have is something called UV Magic, which Larry reminded me last time. Hit the UV, it'll find UV Magic and check it. The next one I want you to have is something called Bool tools. So BOO, and then make sure it is checked. Okay. Make sure you have loop tools, LOO. Make sure that is checked. Make sure you have also added in here images as planes. You only have to type in the first 3 letters or 4 letters of the title. It'll find it. Images as planes, right? And if you hit the X button next where you put images and scroll down, you can see there's a whole lot more plugins you can put in. Well, we won't have enough time to cover all of these. Only the few that we need for class. Hey, good morning. We got 2 new people back here.
Oh, cool. Morning. I added some more chips and some candy.
Oh, good. That's right.
Morning, so
see,
the little shooter high.
Basically, the dean loves us.
That's right. So you gotta need a little pep.
That's right. Yeah, they need it too.
Yeah. Cool. You know. You guys have a good one. I'll see you later.
All right, bye. Sorry about that, guys. I was the dean sticking his head in, just seeing how things are going. All right, so that's about it. Okay, hit the X key and close it out. All right, now let me minimize this here. And let's talk about Blender in comparison to Lightwave. We've just stretched this out, right? Well, I want to look at the actual properties of this object. That's going to be right over here on the side of the menu. Now, it's hidden. And this is one of the things that bugged me about Blender is that why are things hidden? How do I get them to come back up? Well, right up here, you'll see on my screen this tiny little triangle right there. Yours may be already open, but it may not be. But it's a tiny little triangle. And if you click it, another set of menus come out. And these menus is where it's going to be showing you the location of the object, right here, the rotation of the object, the scale of the object, and the dimensions of the object. Okay, now this is going to be really important. And this is where Blender differs from any 3D program out there. We stretch this up, right? Well, if you look at the scale, go to the scale and take a look at that. In fact, let's do this. You guys are going to work with me. Load in there a cylinder. And when you have your cylinder loaded in, make sure you select your transform button for the transform tool. This one, right, the one that I have highlighted is the 4th one up from the bottom. And if you have to be in modeling mode, by the way. So in my tab up here at the top, I'm in modeling. So make sure you're there. What was that?
What was the shortcut to put an object?
Oh, I'm sorry. If you didn't remember, the shortcut to bring in an object is Shift A. That'll bring up this menu. Then go to Mesh, come down here, and go to Cylinder. Shift A. You see your various 3D assets over here, but we want the primitives. So go to Mesh and select your cylinder. And if you have questions, if you guys get lost back there, stop me immediately and let me know. All right, so I'm going to undo my changes so I'm back to where you guys are. Okay. And I'm just using this to make a point. Is everybody to this point here? How about the 2 ladies in the back? Are you at this point? Okay, you're there. Yes. Okay, good. I want all eyes up here. Don't play on your computers. All eyes on me up here. All right. My transform tool is the 4th tool down from the bottom. And what it does is it puts a little 3D widget. Holding your Alt or Option key and left click and drag allows you to rotate around your scene. And I'm saying this for the benefit of the two new people back there. With the transform tool option, you can see you got a rotation, you got a move tool, you've got a scale tool, but transform puts them all together in one tool. Control and Alt or Command and Option, click and drag, zooms in and out. So I'm going to zoom it in close. Now, if I'm back this far right here, on the numeric side, on your numeric side of your keyboard on the right hand side, hit the period key and it'll jump it to full view of anything that is selected. All right, Control and Alt or Command and Option held down together allows me to zoom in and out. So left click and hold and drag up and down allows me to zoom in and out. All right, now I'm going to resize this a little bit. All I'm going to do is look at the resizing image or the 3D node here and look at the blue X, Y, and Z, red, green, and blue, the blue square, the cube. When I click on the cube, click on it and just drag it up to make it bigger like this. Just any size, just randomly drag. And then hit your period key to have it jump back to full, to show the view of your object. All right, here's one of the fundamental differences between Lightwave and Blender. Take a look at your transform properties for this cylinder, right up here. Right down here, what does it say? 1 to 1, and on the Z-axis, 4.343 on mine. Yours is going to be different, right? Whenever you're doing any modeling in Blender, all of your objects must always be 1 to 1 to 1. Always. Right? So right now, this is 1 to 1 to 4 point something, right? Well, how do I tell Blender to see this as an object that's actually a 1 to 1 to 1? Very simply, Command or Control A on the keyboard, hold it down, Command or Control A, and you're going to get this pie menu. And what you're going to tell it to do is apply those changes that I just made, that Z stretch that I made to the cylinder, apply the scale. Apply the scale. Left click on the scale and watch what happens to your scaling. 1 to 1 to 1. Now let me explain what actually happened here. In Blender, let's visualize it this way. Inside this object is a quantum universe. In the real world is our world, but inside here is a quantum universe. That means it can be as big as you want, but in the real world, it's only going to be that small. So for example, I'm gonna undo Control Z, right? Now remember when I stretched it, it was 1 to 1 to 1. Okay, now I'm going to get that. Now in object mode, it's going to change if I make the changes, if I stretch it. If I go inside the quantum universe, which is, just watch me, edit mode. I go inside edit mode, that's my quantum universe. All right, don't do it, just watch me for now. Now, if I come back over here to my transform tool, highlight it, now I'll take it and stretch it up like this, like I'm gonna make it really long, right? Hit the period key so it can jump to full view. When I go back to look at the transform option, shouldn't this be longer on the Z-axis? Wouldn't you anticipate it to be that? Okay, so let's get out of the quantum universe. Let's go into the real world. Tab key, back to object mode, which is the real world. Now let's watch me. Don't want you playing. Watch me up here. Under the objects, go back to object mode. And look what I have. Is that confusing yet? Because you're editing, I like to explain it's a quantum universe. You can do whatever you want inside of editing. The dimensions will always be 1 to 1 to 1 in the real world. That's your object mode. So if I want to stretch and resize anything to my object, it's better to do it in edit. However, if you decide to do it here, they hit the S key, go to scale, and I'm making it bigger. If you're in the object mode, see your numbers? That's right. You don't want that. So the way to reset it to 1 to 1 is Control A, set the scale. Now it's 1 to 1 to 1. That's one of the fundamental differences between Blender and any other 3D program out there. Now, why does Blender work this way? Well, if we distort the numbers here in the object world, the real world, and we decide to animate something, it's going to animate based on those proportions. So if I tell something to animate from one location to another, the shape's going to start to change and distort based on these proportions. If it's always 1 to 1 to 1, it'll never distort. It'll always maintain exactly what you see. Does that make sense? A little bit?
You say that again?
Okay, sure. I'll be happy to. Somebody had a question in chat here. It's a TARDIS. Okay, that must be. So if I decide to animate this, if these numbers are distorted, the potential of the distortion of the model becomes greater because it's trying to maintain the proportions in the real world, like a 1 to 1 to 3 or a 1 to 4 to 5 or whatever it is, right? So in the real, get away. I don't know why it's doing this. Wireless action needed. Go away. Thank you. All right. The distortion, chances of distortions are going to be greater when you're animating, and those distortions are going to happen based on this scale. If the scale is always 1 to 1 to 1, there is no distortion, no potential distortions in your animation. All right, so you always want everything 1 to 1 to 1. So if I go into this, just watch me here. If I go inside here, guys, all eyes up here. I'm seeing some people looking at their computers. So if I go inside to the editing mode, now we're going to go inside the quantum universe. And let's see, I'm going to hit the number 3 key on my keyboard to select the face, right? And I'll kind of just bring it on down. Hit the period key, come over here, do an inset, maybe something like this, do an extrude, something like that, and then hit a Control B for a bevel, pull that on out, and do something like a bevel like so. Maybe hit an inset, rotate that a little bit, okay. I think I'll pull that on out, inset, extrude in, okay. So as I'm starting to model in this world, creating something different, I'll do one other thing. I'll go right down here, grab this one here, E for the extrude, right click to reset it, S key, E, all right, to extrude. All right, so now hit my home key to view everything if I want to. You can see everything's back in here. What is that? Oh, I wonder what, I was always wondering what happened to that model. Huh. Oh, how did it get in there? That's really interesting. Okay, it doesn't matter. All right, there we go. Now, if I get out of this tab, back to the real world, object mode, 1 to 1 to 1, always. So you always want to be 1 to 1 to 1. So, and I'm going to show you a practical example of this right now. Watch. Let's delete this. I'm hitting the X key and delete this. And go to my home and show me everything. That was really weird. I saw that object there, now it's gone. That is really bizarre. I know that object, but this was a new file. Just to make sure everything's fresh and clean, I'm going to go to General. Just make a new one. Don't save this one. Okay. I'm going to Shift A, Mesh. We're going to go to a square. I'm going to kind of bring home the point here. Okay. Let's just work on this side here. Edit mode. Select on this face here. Go to my face editing mode or hit the number 3 key on my keyboard. Face. Let's just go to bevel. Control B for bevel and pull it out. And you can look at how it's beveling and you would anticipate that's the way it should bevel, right? Makes sense, right? That's kind of the way it should look, right? Okay. Let's go back to the real world. Get out of the quantum universe. All right, so I'm going to take this and go to my transform button and oops, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I want to stretch this out, way out like this, right? And if we take a look at the transform properties, this is a 12.2.43 to 1 to 1. We're not going to change it. We're going to leave it there. Now we're going to go inside our editing. Inside the quantum universe, the quantum universe is now being influenced by what's happening in the real world, right? So the real world right now is 12 to 1 to 1. So now if I go select that face there and Control B, see what's happening? That's not what you would anticipate would happen, huh? Because it's all responding to the real world of 12 to 1 to 1 to 1. Right? So let me undo this. Let's go back into the real world and let's set this to 1 to 1 to 1. How do we do it? What's the shortcut? Control A.
But when I hit Control A, it doesn't bring up the pie menu.
Well,
it brings up a drop down.
Oh, that's okay. You can do the drop down too. Same thing.
Okay.
I'm gonna go to scale. Right? Now look, it's 1 to 1 to 1. Now when I go into the quantum universe, tab, edit menu, now hit Control B. Boom, see? That's what you would expect to see happen, right? Is that making sense? So just be aware of that's how Blender works. It's a non-destructive program. So when you resize it in object mode, you want to make damn sure that you reset it to 1 to 1 to 1. Control A. Does that kind of clarify things a little bit? That's one of the fundamental aspects of Blender that threw me off as a light wave artist. It's kind of like, what the hell is going on here? Why isn't it doing it this way? And then I began to understand, oh, it's non-destructive. It's remembering all those sizes. And it's allowing me to edit based on the dimensions or the aspect ratio of those sizes. Was that helpful for everybody online too? Okay. All right, now we can get into texturing. I'm going to delete this object. I'm going to hit the X key. And what I would like everybody to do is I want you to, whatever object you have in your scene, select it, hit the X key for delete and delete it. So clear out your object. And then what I like you to do is put in a Shift A and just put in a cube. Now we're going to figure out how to texture these darn things. Okay, so the way 3D programs like to be textured is they like to use UV mapping. What UV mapping is you imagine you have a box, right? And would it be easier to paint on the surface of the box by turning it around in your hand? Or would it be easier to actually take an X-Acto knife, score some lines into it, and peel off the surface and flatten it down on the desk? And then you can use your crayons to draw right on the flat surface. That's what UV mapping is. So we need to tell the program, how do we want this to unwrap? Right? So we're going to go to another room called UV editing. So we're in modeling right now. We're going to go over to UV editing and click on it. UV editing is how the gaming people work, right? Originally, the amount of pixels that gaming people were limited to because of the inferior processing speeds and all that stuff, and graphics cards to name a few. They were limited to 250 pixels by 250 pixels square. We're still working in that similar capacity where we can go beyond 256. We can go up to the 4K, 5K now because processors and everything's become really good. But it's always still a square. Always. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this cube, and Blender is going to unwrap this cube within this square. This square represents your texture. We haven't brought in the texture yet. I'll show you in just a moment how to do it. But right now I'm going to show you how to unwrap it in Blender. Now, the beauty of Blender is it's unwrapping for you already. It's doing it in the background for you. It's going to give you an unwrapped suggestion. So to see the unwrapping, you have to be in the quantum universe. You have to be in edit mode. All right. So tab key, go to edit mode, and look what you see. So Blender has unwrapped it for you. Isn't that cool? Now, this obviously is your perspective view, like you've been using all along. Over here is your UV view. Your UV view is nothing more than two-dimensional space. It's a flat sheet of paper. So over here, if you look right up here at the top to the far left, you see my little double arrows that I have there? By default, that's off. Let me show you what happens when it's off. If I turn it off, everything that's selected will show. If I deselect, it disappears. If I want to select the top, it'll show you where the top is located on that UV coordinate. If I select this side here, it'll show me where that's located on the UV coordinate. If I don't like that view, I want to see the whole thing all the time, right up here, the far left hand corner, the double arrow, click it. Then that way your UV space will always be viewable. So that when you click on a certain area, it shows you where that area is going to be located within that UV coordinate. If I hold the shift key and select two areas, it'll show you where they both are located. Does that make sense? Play with that. All right, so play around with that there. So wherever you click, It's showing you where that exists in that UV coordinate. All right. Now, what if I want to bring a texture in here? Okay, I want to bring a photographic texture. There are some clever little ways. Let's see up here for images. You have these options right up here. So if I go to the images, let me see if I click open. There is usually, tell you what, let me go see what image I want here. Let me go over to my D drive, go to my 0 presentation files, and we're going to go pick an image. And let's go over to our West Hills folder, and under the images, there we go. We got the James Webb. I tell you what do we got here? We've got I tell you what, let's go to, I'm going to go to the Earth image map folder, and I'm going to grab that one right there. Okay. All right, that's interesting. Earth image. I'm just going to just drop that in there. Now, what I'm going to do now, what's happening is you're not seeing it show up on this cube yet because we've not applied a texture to the cube yet. In fact, let me go to the image. We're going to open. Let's see if I can actually. Yeah, I'll undo Control Z. There we go. All right, I'm just going to undo that for now. And I'm going to show you how to apply the image another way. Over here on the right side, I'm going to come right over. The cube is selected. If I come down at the bottom of my properties, you see that the very last icon there is like a gray and red globe. That's your texture icon. Click on it. Now, there's nothing in there yet. We haven't told it to apply a texture to the cube. The way we're going to do it is hit that New button. Click it. And now we've just created a brand new texture. Let's name this texture cube. So it named it default material because it's a material, so we're applying to it. So if I double click it, I'm going to call it cube. Now here's the trick. I want to be able to see the results of this of the texture on the cube. We have to go to a different viewing mode. I may have to, if I put my mouse over here in between this little thick or very thin black line that's dividing these windows, I should be able to pull this over like this, and then way in the corner, way over there, are my viewing options. Another thing that bugs me about Blender, it hides stuff because it doesn't have enough room. Right? So here I'm in my standard viewing mode. If I click the one just to the right, it becomes the nature of my texture. So just stay in that mode for right now. All right, I'm going to go back and get that dark thin line, and I'm going to pull it back on over the way it was. So if you look right down the right-hand side, we're still inside of materials. The very top one is my color. Well, what color do I want this to be? The base color, click on the box. You get your color wheel. Scroll in there and see what happens. Isn't that cool? All right, we've got other options to really make your texture sing, and you have options for metallic to make it more like mirror-like, specular, a specular tint, roughness, which takes the mirror surface and kind of diffuses it out a little bit. And we might get into some of these today. But these are a lot of options for texturing your object so that it looks realistic. Okay, so what we want to do is get an image. And I want to decide what image to get. So before I do anything else, I'm going to come over to... Why did it do that? I don't want to do that. I want that one. There. Okay. I want to select an image. So I think I gave you, well, we've got the planet. So I think we can utilize the planet, but before we use the planet, I'm going to use the planet for something else because we're actually going to make a planet. Okay, so we'll use the planet for another object. So what we'll do instead is let's do. Oh, you know what? Hey, inside the images folder, let's grab this textures number 1, and that is. Let's see. I want to make sure that's the extra large view. That's like a picture of these windows there, of the concrete wall with the windows in it. So I'm gonna use textures number 1 inside the images folder. So watch me for right now, and then I'll show you guys how to I'll let you guys work on it. It's gonna be pretty simple. Blender has already created a UV map for you. So we're not going to worry about recreating it at this point. I just want to show you how to bring the texture on. So I want that window map to be on this cube. So there's a couple of different ways to do it. I'm going to show you what I think is the easiest way. Is for the base color, instead of the color, we're going to put an image in there. So instead of clicking on that big color swatch to get the color, you're going to instead click on the little dot that's just to the left of that color swatch. When I click it, it's going to ask, what do you want to put in there? Under the texture, you want an image texture. Do that now. And then I'm going to pause the recording and let you guys get to that point. So now, I'm going to go open and get the texture. So when I told it to give me an image, it's asking me, well, what image? Right here under the Open tab, little folder. Click it. I'm going to navigate to the folders. I'm going to go to that Images folder, which I have a feeling, do you guys have those images on your desktop? Did you guys put those images on there? All right, we'll check that in just a little bit. I'm going to go over to, let's pull this out of the way. Go over to my D drive. Let's go over to my presentations folder, as I always do. And we're going to go right over here to my West Hills. And I'm going to the images. And within that images folder, there we go. There are all my images thumbnails. And I want to go to this, I think it was this brick building. No, it's number 1. That's it. Textures number 1. I'm going to click on it and click open the image. And look at what we have. All right, so I want you guys to get to that point. And then I'll show you how to modify it. And start recording. So if you take a look at this, if I click on this front face, which is just done, I'm in face editing mode, and zoom in close to the UV map here, using my Command or Control and or Alt and Option held together, you can see that's what's being displayed. Is that making sense? loop tools. So that in essence, that's how you bring in your textures. All right, now there's more techniques I can show you here, but I think I'm going to be showing you a little bit too much at this time. But I'm going to show you another way to unwrap your image. So if I come, let's see if I have this here. Right at the top here on my UV side, it's showing my image, showing it right here. If for some reason you didn't want it to show your image, click on the drop down list and go to render result. Oh, I guess it's not going to show me that either, is it? Let's go to home. Okay, yeah, that's going to be a pain. Come back on over. Now it's moved it over here. Go back to the texture. Okay. Yeah, it kind of moves it back and forth. Go back to home. Hit the home button. Zooms everything in at once. Let's see what I got here for the image. All right. I just want to check something out real quick. Okay, we're good. Okay, so let's do this. Before I start showing you some UV editing magic stuff, let's go actually do a planet. Okay, and which is that's something we're going to be able to use in Photoshop. And then later on, we'll come back and I'll show you some specific UV editing techniques. So let's go back to your modeling window. So I hit the modeling tab right up here at the top. We were in the UV editing tab. Now we're going to go to the modeling tab. Now that you're in the modeling tab, we can't see the textures anymore. How do we see them? Yeah, see this one up here? One over to the right. We click that button and there they are. So this is our texture view mode. So my Lightwave guys are going, oh, show us the UV editing stuff, but I got the kids here, so I'm going to just hold that till later on. Okay, so let's get rid of this cube. So go into your object editing mode. Hit the X key, get rid of the cube. So we're starting fresh. And we're going to bring in the object that's going to the best resemble a planet. That's right, a sphere. So bring that in. So Command A, go to your mesh, add in a sphere or UV sphere. So when everybody is there, is anybody still doing it? All there? Okay, cool. All right. So if you take note, we're still in the texture editing mode. So that's fine. Would you like to view this in an actual rendered mode? Because it's not rendered yet. Right? It's not rendered yet. It's just allowing you to see the texture. So if you look right up here in the top right hand corner, oh gosh, these notifications are annoying. The top right hand corner, where we're in texture edit, we have the texture editing button selected, right? Go to one more button to the right, the very last one to the right, and click it. Okay, so we're seeing now the rendered mode. Now you may see lights in yours. The reason you're not seeing lights in mine because I turned them off here in the 3D panel. So if I turn them on, there's my light source. So in your panel, do you have a light in your 3D objects? No? No one has one? Okay. What was that? You have one? Okay. So if you don't have one, I'm going to pull this back a little bit. You can see there's my light right there. It's sitting off to the side. Now, if you don't have one, watch me. Shift A, go to the light, and bring in the sunlight. Okay. You got it?
It blocked me out from like using any commands.
It blocked you up? Okay, hold on just a minute. Let me pause recording here.
It says disable content missing something.
All right, give me a second. Start recording. How's everybody doing online? I'm assuming you're keeping up with me. Good? Okay. All right. So, if you see, I guess this is my camera here. I'm clicking on that's my camera there. Now, don't forget, they're also right here in your 3D menu. So your camera, I've got extra stuff in here. I'm going to delete this extra stuff so that we can work together. Cool. So I got the camera, light, and sphere. Rename the sphere planet, please. That's name is something we're going to easily track. Okay. Also, this is a good time for a break. We're at that time. We do a 15-minute break. So I forgot to turn on the. There we go. Now we're recording. You're supposed to remind me to turn that on. There we go. All right. So I'm not seeing any of my wire so I can identify my wireframe or object. That's going to be listed right here. So you look at your viewing window modes here, and just to the left of them is this little drop-down list. Drop it down, and then hit the wireframe under geometry at the bottom. Click that. There you go. Now you can see your wireframe. I like to work this way because I always like to keep a visual identification as to if I want to add more geometry or put more detail in there, where can I do it? All right, in this case, now you also notice that your object is faceted, right? When you spin it around and you look at the lighting and how the lighting is interacting with the object, and that's basically, this is just a faceted object, but there's a quick little way to smooth out the surface in Blender. We're going to select the object itself, right click, and currently it's in shade flat. That's why it's faceted. What you want is shade smooth. There. See, now it's smooth. All right, that's all I wanted to show you on that one. Now, shall we go to the UV editing mode, and take a look at what Blender has created for us as a UV for this? So we're gonna go to UV editing room. Go to the tab. Oh damn it! How do I get rid of this texture? I want to get render result. There we go. I just hit the little X. The X that was on the right hand side, that got rid of it. Yeah, go ahead and get rid of yours as well. So here's my object. Now we need to go into editing mode. So tab key, go inside the edit mode, and there's your UV map. We're going to keep it the same. We're not going to do anything to it. I just want you to be aware of how this map looks. So what it's done is this is the top. If I select any of these up here, right, you can see where those points are or where that geometry is on your 3D object. Is that making sense? So if I come over here and click and drag a rectangle around that whole line on the top, that's the whole middle section there. If I come over here and click physically on these few here, you get to see that's where they're located on the UV coordinate. All right, so now what we're going to do, let's go back to your modeling, okay? And we're going to apply a texture to this. So we're going to come right down here on the right-hand side, go to the very bottom icon, that little globe, make a new texture, rename the texture planet, if I want to see the texture, don't forget, get out of the standard viewing mode and go to your texture viewing mode. So that if you come down to the base color, it'll change that color. Now we're going to get our planet texture. So what I'm going to do is come right over here to the base color, hit that little yellow dot to the left of the color swatch, select image texture. What image do I want? It's going to be right down here. I'm going to have to come over here. I have a thin little scroll bar. It's hard to see. I have a scroll bar on the right hand side. Open the texture. And I'm going to go, you guys are going to go to where you put the textures. There's one on there. That's where all the planets are. I'll tell you exactly where it is. It's D drive. Go to my West Hills folder. And I should be under images and Earth image maps. And there it is. And grab the 2K Earth day map. There it is. You got your planet. All right, I'll let everybody catch up. I'm going to help them out over here real quick. Pause recording. Okay, recording is on. All right, now now we got our planet. Let's see if this is going to work. I'm thinking about putting a cloud cover on top of this, right? So that means we're probably going to use a separate sphere and use that as the cloud cover sphere. And I can use the same sphere if I like. So I've got the planet here, and I'm going to duplicate the planet. Does anybody remember the shortcut for duplicate? Shift D. Shift D, it automatically creates a separate planet, right? And right click to reset it. And all I'm going to do is this, is scale it just to make it slightly bigger. Hit the S key on the keyboard and make it slightly bigger and then get to that point. And it might be a good idea to also turn on your X-ray view. Let's see if we can even get X-ray view in this mode. All right. And it might be helpful to change the image. So for this one, we're going to give it a separate surface. So I'm going to go back over here to, I'm going to target the planet 1, which is going to be my new sphere that I created. It has the same textures on it, but I think I'm going to make that a separate texture. So I'm going to go to the very top here, and I'm going to make a new texture by hitting the plus button. And when I hit the plus button, I'm also going to click the new button for new tech material. There it is. We're going to call this one clouds. We are instead going to grab another image for the clouds. So if I come down here to the color base, or the base color, actually I don't really want an image. I just want to show you. I want to take out the image. So if I come back, maybe I want like the texture BSD. All right, I tell you what, it might be easier. All right, so how to separate the planets?
Yeah, how to make it into two.
Okay, all right, Shift D. That duplicates the original planet. And if you look over here in your 3D layers, you're gonna have your planet and your planet 001. If you don't see two planets over here in your 3D layer, that means you have not duplicated it yet. So if you hit Shift D and then you right click so it drops it back into place, you should see a planet and a planet 1. You should see a planet and a planet 1. You got it?
Yeah.
So change the planet 1 to clouds. It automatically separates it into two separate objects. And I'm gonna walk around and take a look at your screen real quick just so that I can pause recording. I'm gonna turn on record. There we go. So we come down here in the bottom. All right, there's my clouds for the object. Go to preview. Is it here? Where is it? Where's my surfaces? Right there. Under the surfaces. Now I need to designate this object as I want to make this the clouds here. Let's see if I do this here. If I do that, nope. Okay. I'm gonna go inside edit mode, tab key, edit mode. Go to my face editing view, hit A key for selecting all the surfaces. And then right over here, I want to assign this the new cloud. So go into edit view in your cloud one. Go back to your textures. Select all your faces, by the way, by hitting the A key on your keyboard. And then right here where it says assign, click it, and it assigns that to new texture for clouds. So what we're doing is we're assigning all the faces to that texture called clouds. Now I'm going to go over to, now when you're done, go back to your object editing mode. And if you turn off the eyeball on the clouds real quick, you get to see that the clouds are sitting on top of your planet. And I've given you a clouds image map. All right, so I'm going to go from memory here. Let me go down here and take a look at something. Okay, I have an alpha channel. Alpha represents transparency. I'm going to give this a try first. So in your texture, go to your scroll bar, scroll down toward the bottom. Actually, just watch me here first, and then I'm gonna let you guys kind of like do it next. So I'm gonna come over here to the alpha and click on it, and it's giving me a whole bunch transmission depth and all that stuff. Okay, so if I go to the top, I should be able to get the images. The images texture. Now I'm going to go open it. Open, and I'm going to go back. Let's see, where am I right now? All of this, I'm back in the, and I'm going to go back over to the D drive, and we're going to go back to our West Hills College folder, presentations, West Hills College. Okay, now if I go to images, I've got my earth maps here too. It might be easier. You see right here, I've got a clouds folder. If you notice that this is broken up between black and white, your black represents transparency, your white represents opacity. So we're going to apply the same thing, just as we did with the color, to a channel called alpha. Alpha means use black variations or variations of black to make an object transparent, while the white will keep its opacity. So if I click the Open tab, okay, it should be applying it, but I'm not seeing it. I think I need to go to the render mode. Let me see what it looks like in render mode. All right, we pull this on back and see what's going on here. I don't think this is doing it. Interesting. All right, that should have worked. I probably want to do something else. Give me a hot second here. I had two ways of doing it. I want to just pause this. Okay, so the light source currently is pointing somewhere other than the planet. You can see it's a little dark line pointing downward. I want that to be pointing at the planet at all times. So with the light source targeted, go ahead and select your light right now. Come down here. When you're done, come down to the bottom to your properties, and it's the second one up, was the third one up actually. This is your light properties, but we'll deal with that in just a minute. I want you to go to the icon just above it. It's called a constraint. If I click on that, I can tell the light to always point at a target, right? So I'm going to delete mine so we can start from scratch. You're going to have nothing in yours. So right down here for the add object constraint, right under tracking, you want the track to. Click that. And you're going to get another dialog box opening up here. And all I wanted to do is track to an object. In this case, it's going to be the Earth planet, right? So under the target, click it, select the planet, and you'll notice this blue line that's always targeting the planet. So that if I go to the light source and just move it, and I can click on that little white circle right around the planet, wherever I move it, it always points at the planet. If I want to intensify the light source, let's say I want to bring my light source over to the other side like this. There we go. If you bring the light source further away, that means the spread of the light source is going to be greater, but the intensity is going to go down, right? You bring it real close, intensity is going to get up closer. You want to bring it up further away so that we have a greater spread. Now I want to increase the intensity. So if I click on the planet, hit the period key. Now I'm going to go back to the light source, and I want to target the light itself. But right down here, right below your Constraint tab, you have your Light Properties tab. And under the Power, shows you how much more light you get to apply. So it's further away, so it's hard. So it's going to require more power. Let's bring it in closer, just to make my point here. There we go. So I can bring the power down or up. So if I bring it down to something like 100, it gets low. If I bring it up to something like 2000, it really gets bright. So play with that. In your light tab here, your properties for your light, second one up from the bottom, with your light targeted. Always got to make sure that's targeted. Here are all your different types of light types. Watch, I have a point light currently selected. If I select the sun, wow, it really gets bright, right? That's sunlight there. If I go to a spotlight, now the spotlight lets you control the diameter and coverage of the light. If I go to an area light, so if I, with the light targeted, shift S for scale, and I can make a square shape, the actual thing that lights my subject. Play around with those different types of lightings. They're all listed as buttons here. Okay, I'm gonna do this real quick. I'm gonna go take the clouds down. All right, I'm gonna save this because I'm gonna come back to it, and I'm gonna export this out later. So I'm gonna File, save as. I'm gonna put this into the tutorials folder for the fire hydrant. Call it Planet. Okay. And I think my latest fire hydrant, I think that was That may have been number 2. Open. And let me open up number 2. I think it was this one. There we go. Okay. There's our hydrant. All right, I'm going to go ahead and turn off my image on there. It's kind of annoying me a little bit. So is that it there? Yep, that's it. Turned off in the background. And I'm going to start with the hat. So, and this is going to we're going to talk about the whole idea of UV mapping. Remember, the whole idea is that you're going to take an X-Acto knife and kind of cut around the areas and unwrap it. Let's see what Blender gives us for the hat by default. I'm going to select the top portion. Actually, this is the whole piece, isn't it? Oh, I see. So this must have been the other version. Hydrant. No, let's see. Boats. This may have been the one where I modeled it as one piece as opposed to 2 separate pieces. I can use this as well, but just to be safe, let me go ahead and open up the other one. Don't save. It should have been this one there. There we go. See the UV maps right there. All right. Okay, so let's go to my object mode. Boats. Okay. All right. For some reason, it may be a possibility I may have lost. Let me go ahead, Command. Let's go open. Don't save this either as well. Let me see. Architecture. I may have not saved the individual pieces. Strangely enough. When we originally did this, we modeled the top portion, this hat portion, separately from the bottom portion. This is the hydrants, the boats, and then the hat is no longer existent. So, all right, we'll just work with this one piece. This gives you an idea where we're going. Go to the image. Let's go ahead and turn that off. Let's go to the UV editing and just kind of watch me on this. All right, so we go to UV editing. We need to be, I tell you what, let's start with this little boat up here, okay? So the boat is selected. Tab, edit mode, there it is. Blender unwrapped it for you. So basically what we're looking at is this top portion and bottom portion, right? Hit the number 3 key to go to the, see, that's the bottom. That one is the top, as you can see highlighted here, okay? So we took an X-Acto knife, we sliced an edge all around the edge of the top, peeled it off, put it down, did the same for the bottom, placed it down, and then all we did is, that leaves us the ring of the outside. We took an X-Acto knife and sliced it right down one of the edges, and then peeled it out and placed it out. And that is, see, if I select them all like this, that is the UV surface, okay? So the idea here is that we can lay down some texture and texture this thing. All right, so to do so, over on the right-hand side, I'm in my texture mode already. So we're going to make a brand new texture. We're going to call it boat. Right? So make a new texture. Double click it. We'll call it the boat. I could come over here and give it like a red, but remember we need to be in texture viewing mode. Pull this way on over, come back over and select it. See? Now, what I like to do is I like to put a photographic texture on there. And to do that, we'll come down to the color, click on that little node to the left of the color, and click on image texture. What image we're going to use, we're going to open it up. I got to go back to my folder, go to my presentations folder. Then I'm going to come over here to West Hills, and it should be inside the images. So I believe I had a folder called Fire Hydrant. It may have been back. Let me go back one. All right, let's see. Tutorials, images. Thought I had one called Hydrant. Let me come down and take a look at this here. You guys have that on your drive, right? All right, this got to be on here. I'm just forgetting where I put it. Let's go inside the images folder. It's probably where it is. Double click it. There it is. Fire hydrant textures. The hydrant folder that you have, what did I call it? I don't think I accidentally deleted it. Digital plant. Maybe this is it here. Did you find it? Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, I'm having a problem finding my images folder. All right, so there is, let me go and back. Maybe it was in front of me and I just didn't see it. All right, let's go back to D drive. Let's go over here to the resume, not the resume, let's pull that away here. Presentation files. Oh, come on, system's acting up now. There we go. Let's go over here to West Hills. All right, now my mouse is, system's freezing up on me here. Let me get something else here. Sometimes when I have a lot of resources taken away from my graphics card, the Wacom tablet that I'm working on now starts to kind of act a little sluggish. So I'm going to use the mouse here. There we go. There we go. Okay. All right. Digital Planet. I'm inside the presentations. Go to the West Hills down at the bottom. There we go. And inside the images folder should be a fire hydrant. You know what? It's not here. Somehow it got deleted. So let me plug in my thumb drive in here and grab it off here. We got it right here. Let's see if I can pull it off of here. There we go. Inside the images folder. Okay, why am I not seeing it here? Oh, that's a little frustrating. What's going on? You guys have it, right? Yes? Why am I not seeing it? I've given it to you guys off of this drive. Let's go back up. There it is. Found it. Okay. Double click it. There we go. Just like that. All right. So we'll do the same thing for the rest of the hydrant. Tab, object, target the hydrant, go into editing mode. Immediately you get to see what Blender has done for you. Now you can go in and edit these. You can custom do this, right? Say for example you don't like the way Blender has has laid this out for you. So you can come in editing mode. I'm going to show you a little trick here. Okay, we're going to come in. We're going to do something kind of fun. We're going to tell Blender how to reorganize all of this. Now, I've done so already. You see the little red lines here? Those red lines are my X-Acto knife slices. So I decided that for this fire hydrant, I sliced it so that the bottom half will be one piece, right, which is right there. And this top portion will be another piece. If I double click it, all right, I'm going to double click it to get the whole ring. As you can see, it's over here. I also told it to have this whole section here as one straight piece. Just by where I laid out these thick lines. Now you guys, and the way that I laid out the lines, I'm going to show you now, is, let me do a new one. Let me try this. I'm going to do this one right in here. I want this whole piece in the center, this little center piece here, to be laid out separately. It will be because I've got a red slice above it and a red slice below it. Now I want this to be laid out as one whole piece, so I'm going to go to Edge Editing Mode, the number 2 key in the keyboard, right? I'm going to select all the edges in there, right? I'll start here. I'll do one more selection. I hold the Shift key if I get them real close. I have that one little piece selected, but if I hold Control and Shift together, the last area where I select, it'll select everything in between there. Oops, I hit the wrong thing. That's a little hard. Let me go and go to the modeling mode so it's easier for you guys to see. I'm going to get in closer. There we go. We'll come back to that. So I'm going to come back over, go grab that one. It's highlighted. I'm going to hit the period key to zoom in close. Hold the Shift key, highlight this one. Then I'm going to zoom out and go to the other end, the very last one for this one here. Hold Shift and Control. Okay. I didn't do that. That's the mouse acting up. So I got to go back and do it again. So I'm going to go grab. It's one little piece that's right over here. Cool. Hit the period key. There we go. All right. Now I'm going to go way over here to the other end. Shift and Control. It should have selected everything in between, but here, I'm going to do it manually. Shift key, holding down the Shift key, select that edge, select this edge, come all the way around. That's really interesting. So I guess it's not considered one continuous edge loop, and that's why it didn't do it. There we go. Now, all I'm going to do is this. Once that edge is selected, right-click, and we're going to use a command called Mark Seam. When I mark it, that edge is going to turn red. Right? Click it, it turns red. There it is. So there's your slice. That's your slice. Okay? All right, I'm thinking just for practice. Well, here, let me finish this up, and then I'll let you guys practice on something. Now, I did not do this top portion up here, so I'm gonna go ahead and accomplish that now. So I'm just gonna grab an edge, so I get the period key to get Blender to zoom in close. And I think what we'll do is we will I'm going to say that edge. I'm going to double click and select this entire loop. Double click and select that entire loop. Right click, mark the seam. So what I've done is I'm telling Blender to slice down the middle and then peel this off so it's going to be on a flat surface. I'm going to do the same thing with these areas in here, except I'm going to go grab that, all these little edges right about in here. That one, that one, that one. I'm getting closer. Target this one. Control key to get rid of that one. All right, and I'm going to right click, mark seam. Okay, see what I'm doing? So I'm deciding, I'm telling the program as the artist, how do I want this to unwrap? Now all we need to do is to unwrap it. So I'm going to go back to UV editing, hit the home key to zoom it back into full frame. So I have this all sliced up. Now it's not really complete because I can come in here and slice up these individual areas too, right? Right, but I'm just gonna, just save time. I'm just gonna show you this real quick. Then I'm gonna let you guys practice on one. So here is the original UV map that was created from my original slices. If I want to redo it over again, I want Blender to redo it based on what I've just done. I'm gonna hit the A key to select all. I'm gonna select all. So first thing you gotta do, you gotta select everything. Then you hit the U for UV. U on the keyboard, hold it down, and simply click on Unwrap. That's it. And click it, boom, it redid it, as you just saw. Now what you guys can do, I'm gonna have you guys practice on something. I want you to, let me save this file real quick. Just so that you guys kind of get the feel for this. And then we'll come back, put the hydrant back into the scene that we had originally started with, so it actually becomes part of the assets, part of the storytelling. I'm going to go new. In fact, make a new file, a new general file to start fresh. And what I like you to do is go ahead and put in here a what should we do? Why don't we do? Let's see, a mesh. How about if we do? I tell you what. Do a cube. We'll stick with the cube. All right, this would be a good example because it already creates a UV for you by default, but you're going to go back and you're going to redefine it. All right, now go to your UV editing tab. We're going to slice this up in the way that we want it to be sliced up. Go into your edit menu, and you can see what Blender has done for you. So what we're going to do is we're going to create our own slices. So you're going to be in edge editing mode. I'm going to slice one edge. Okay. And then I'm going to slice all the edges. And I'm thinking, let's do something different here. I'm going to slice this, there, and there on this side. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. The next thing I'm going to do is right click, mark seam. And we're going to tell Blender to unwrap this. So what do I do? What's the first thing I have to do? Select all. Make sure all the polys are selected. Then all you do is hit U on the keyboard and unwrap. And there it is. See? So I just want you to practice with that. So play with that a little bit. And when you're done, like say for example, you want to try a new one, right? You can right click on it and say clear seams. That'll get rid of all your seams. And then if you unwrap it again, it's going to keep your original unwrap, but you can go back and redo it again. Okay, so play with that, and then we're going to come back and we're going to go further. I'm going to pause recording. Let me go ahead and record this. After you're done with that, but guys, I want you to edit your object. Do something different to it. Go hit the number 3 key on your keyboard, select the face. Maybe maybe take this and what's going on? Stop. Select the face, hit my I command, and something is not working. So Blender is acting up on me right now. There we go. There we go. There we go. Now E key for extrude. Right? I'm going to do one more I for inset. Then E for extrude. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to decide how to edit this for the UV map. So a few different ways I can go. I can select it so that the entire top faces of all these will be separate from the sides. In fact, I'll do so. If I double click it, I'm going to go to edge editing mode. I hit number 2 key on my keyboard. Double click that edge. It does all those. Shift, double click that. Shift, double click this. Shift, double click. Shift, double click. And it should be selecting all these edges up here. Let me go ahead and grab that. There we go. Now right click, mark seam. See? Now I've missed the seam here. I just noticed. Right click, mark seam. So now that the tops are separated, I want to do the same thing to the bottom, because I want the bottom face to be, there it is, shift. I want that to be separated. Right click, mark seam. And then the only last thing I want to do is just take one of these edges and slice it down on one edge so it'll unwrap the sides as one complete long piece. So if I click one here, one there, and one there, right? Right click, mark seam. Select all. Now now notice your UV map has changed here, right? Look at this one. See that? So what this is looking at it from the top down like this. See? But we want the program to automatically unwrap to honor the new edges that I have. So it's going to unwrap them and lay them all out flat. So hit the A key for select all, then U key for short for UV, and unwrap. And there it is. Now you may or may not like that particular unwrap. You're welcome to go back and redo it again. So practice that. Just practice a variety of different ways to unwrap your model. And I'm going to pause recording. I noticed that when I unwrap this here, there's a problem come with this here, right in here. All I need to do is just select it. It'll take me to it. And you notice it's taking me over here, right? I noticed that one of my edges weren't completely selected accurately. Now I've already gone ahead. One of the edges were not selected here. That was why I'm getting this problem here. I've already selected that edge and told it to mark it as a seam. All right, so when I select all and hit the U key, unwrap it, there it is. See, it corrects it. It corrects it. Now everything is exactly as I anticipated it should be. All right, UV editing. So a nice little practical application. So I want to actually make this a building with a bunch of windows or something all around it. And I'm going to use a texture for that. So I'm going to come right down here. I'm going to add in a new texture, and which it did. So if I come down here, and of course, there we go. No, change the color, I can. So I want to put instead an image texture there. Come right over here, go to my image texture, come to the folder. Once it's been added, the image texture has been applied, but we haven't yet chosen the image. So I'm going to click on the image folder, and we're going to go over here to our drive and go get our presentation files. And then I'm going to go to the Golden West folder, not Golden West, the West Hills folder. And we're going to come to the images. And I got a bunch of images down here. I'll tell you what, I will use this one here. Texture number 1, like we started with early this morning. So open it up, and there it is. Okay, it's being applied. Now, how and why it's being applied? If I go to my tab key, go to edit mode, right, I'm going to turn that on there. You get to see how my UV maps are laid out. Okay, so here's a slick little way of handling it. Now, before I told you to push this double arrow up here in the top left-hand corner so that you can always see a UV. Here, I'm going to have you do something different. If I select this face, I'm going to hit the number 1 key in the keyboard, or I want to see the opposite side. You hold down the Control or Command key, and that'll allow you to see the opposite side. Number 3 key, Command or Control, it allows me to see the opposite side. All right, now I'm going to turn this double arrow off so that all I can see is just that one UV section that represents that side. So if you notice, it's way over here off to the corner. So I have the transform node there, or the transform tool selected. And if I just put my cursor on the corner, I can drag this out to make it bigger. See the images on there? I can make this bigger. All right. And if I kind of get in close, rotate this around a little bit. Now you can also see that this image texture is flipped. So this one is vertical while these are horizontal. And I don't want that. So I'm going to change it. We're still in the transform tool. Put a transform tool just, let's see, I should be able to rotate this here. I tell you what, I'll go to the rotation tool right there. That's the rotate. Make sure I've got everything selected. Click and hold it and rotate it. See? What I'm doing is I'm editing the UV coordinates. All right? So if we come over to the side, now it's starting to match up. In fact, I got to rotate it more, a little more accurately. Let me get in closer. There it is. Now you can adjust the position. I'll go back to my transform option here. You can adjust the position left to right, see, or up or down. So if I want to match this one over to the right, let's get in closer. you go to this UV coordinate and you just bring it down. There we go. Right about there. There it is. So now all that, what kind of sort of matches up. If I want to edit to perfect it, I can select just those 2 points down at the bottom. I'm going to try to make sure this is accurately selected. There we go. Come on. I'm going to go to that edge edit mode there. Grab that whole edge. Let's see what's happening here. There we go. It's not allowing me to select it. Why? What's going on? What's going on here? If I select that, select all of this. Oh, okay. There we go. There we go. That's what I wanted. See? Go to the bottom. You know, I have all types of options for making adjustments. Right? But I think I want to keep that where it is. I want to come over here and edit this one. And as you can see, that one is way off, and it shouldn't be. So we push it back up here. You can see it's starting to line up. Go back to the top, pull it down. And of course, maybe pull this, something like that. Get something close to it. Is that making sense? So using your transform tool, when you select this entire thing, just whatever corner you pick on, that's the corner you're going to manipulate. So I can distort the image utilizing the UV coordinates. So give that. So when you apply an image to your building, go into UV coordinate and adjust them. And this is why you need to know how to slice them up the way that you want them, so that you can decide how you want to anticipate the textures falling on it. And that's all I'm going to show you about UV editing. So I got to go back in here and readjust everything, but you're getting the point. All right, I'm going to pause recording. Let you practice that. I'm going to start recording. There's chit chat back there. All right, so I'm back in our original scene that we created on day one. And now that of course, I didn't get a chance to complete the fire hydrant, but we're going to go ahead and texture that real quick. So let's go ahead and add a texture here. So grab this one here. I'm going to go to the base texture. I'm going to double click this one. And I got to tell you what, we'll call this the hat. All right. And then I am going to give this a texture. Image texture here. Go tell it what texture to get. Let's kind of go back up there. There the images folder. And I got to go back and remember where I put the fire hydrants again. Blender modeling class. There we go. And we're going to go inside the images for fire hydrant. Double click it. Come on. And there it is. Done. All right. So there's our fire hydrant. You know, see, probably should be a little smaller, huh? So S key, scale it down. Oops, that's the helmet. Let me kind of undo that. Okay. Let's see if I can do them both at the same time. Yep. I just toggle them both, bring it down a little bit more. Go to my number 1 key from the side. Pull it down to about the same area as the garbage can. That will actually went down too far. Huh? Bring it on up. There you go. Okay. So we're adding other. We have a garbage can. Now if I go to the garbage can, remember that technique I showed you, the shading. So right click on it. It's shade flat now. Go shade smooth. But right now you got that faceted edge, right? So right click shade smooth. There it is. From here, let's go to our render view. I got to pull this way over because here are my views. Come over to here to the right, and there it is. In fact, let's go back on over to my layout view here real fast. Oh, what happened? Did the Blender crash? Blender crashed. It is gone. It's like, it's dead, Jim. All right, here we go. Let's go back and get Blender. I didn't even save it. Damn it. Okay. There we go. It's thinking and thinking and thinking. Okay. Let's go back, get the recent, which is the architecture 2C. Okay, there we go. All right. Just as a FYI, I'm gonna go ahead and turn on the unlock the hydrant, unlock the hat, and I should have right up here the 3D assets. There we go. All right, this blue scene, which I actually forgotten about, I thought I had turned it off. It's blue and red. Is a designation telling us what direction the normals are actually pointing in. And on this particular piece, it's pointing in the wrong direction. Red means it's in the wrong direction. Blue means that your normals for how your texture should be viewed is going in the right direction. So the fire hydrant looks good. The garbage can looks good, but this does not. So I'm going to tab key, go into the edit mode, select all. Okay, and I'm going to go up here to mesh, and should be in the normals, right? Mesh normals, there we go, and flip, there. Now this side is in blue, so that's the right way to view our images. Now, I need to get out of this normal mode, so drop down right here, there's a little list right in here, and I am going to view normals, face orientation right there. Turn it off, and there we go. So now let me go over here and turn on the texture mode. There it is. I'm going to target that bolt real quick and turn it off. I don't need to see it. I have the bolts on. I do not. That bolt was designed to place in a hydrant, but this was a previous tutorial, so I'm going to just continue to work. Let's go over here and grab the hydrant and the helmet. And get out of this. There we go. Pull it on over. Good. I'm going to just pull this on down. Place it. There we go. I think that works. On over. We'll put it on over here. Okay, that works. I'm going to save it so I don't go. Garbage can, right click on it, smooth it out. Okay, that looks good. Now let's go ahead and change the texture. So select the helmet, give it a new texture. I'm gonna call this one hat. Go to the color base, image. What image am I going to use? Pull this on out here a little bit. Give me a hot second. Go. Thank you. Okay. I'm going to come right over here to the surface color. Let's see, where is it? Oh, did I put it in the wrong one? I may have placed it in the wrong one. Base color, there we go, storefront. So base color here, let me click on this. Click this here. Image texture. Grab this here. And we should have, let's go back up. Blender marketing, images of hydrants. Oh, we got to undo it. Okay, I had the wrong thing selected. So select the hydrant, the helmet. Sorry. There we go. That's what I want. Now go get it. Go up. Up. Oops, I'm going to go back down. West Hills. Blender, images of hydrants. That one there. There we go. Oh, it crashed again. It doesn't like it. No, it's the graphics card is being taxed by both Zoom and the projector. That's right. We'll pass on that one. You guys will get the point. We got the fire hydrant and then we got it textured. I'll do it in the hotel room and then I'll come back and show you the results. In the meantime, we'll go back to where we wanted to go. Let's go back into Blender. And we'll do something simpler that Blender can handle right now. I'm assuming everybody online is okay?
Yep.
Cool. Okay, there we go. All right, here we go. We go back to Blender. Now, we started doing our planet, right? So I'm going to go ahead and just walk through this real quick. Matter of fact, you guys saved your planets, right? Okay, cool. I'm going to do this real quick. Go ahead and put in our UV sphere. Okay. We're going to give this a texture. So you get to see just the whole workflow, just, from beginning to end. Well, not totally the end in this case, but new one. Put in a new texture. Come on. I clicked you. There you go. Taking this time. I am also going to save this one. Save as, and we'll call it planet number 2. And that's saving it as a blend file. All right, let's go ahead and put on a texture. So here's my base color right there. Just click on a little nodule here, image texture. Let me show you what it's doing also. Let's go open the image. And West Hills tutorials, get out of that. I will go, let me see if I go to the images here, Earth image maps here. Go ahead and put on the Earth there. And we need to be in my texture mode to see this. There we go. So there's my image map. Now, the problem I had last time was I wanted to actually do a cloud texture. I'm going to Command S to save this so I don't lose it. I'm not sure because eventually I want to bring this planet into Photoshop. So I'm not sure if I want to do that here or in the Photoshop, but I'm going to try it here for now. The planet is faceted, right? What do I do? That's right. Right click, smooth it. Right. Now I'm going to add another sphere. So I'm just going to hit Shift A just to keep it direct. Another UV sphere. Okay, there it is. And I'm going to go over here to my 3D assets. We're going to call this one the clouds. And the last one, I'm going to call it earth. Okay. I'm going to save it. File menu, save once again. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put everything into a group. I'm going to select the earth and the sphere and the sphere. This is the clouds, right? Got it. So earth and clouds. Let your mouse hover over your object. Hit the M as in man, and then hit new collection. I'll give you a couple of minutes to get to that point. I'll pause the recording. So that you are aware, let me just turn off the clouds. Hit the little eyeball on the clouds. All right, that's interesting. Did I switch this? There we go. I renamed the thing wrong. This needs to be earth. That one needs to be clouds. Okay, cool. So, okay. What am I doing wrong here? That's my earth. That's what I want to be earth. So why did it not? This is the clouds here, right? Okay. Why is it not following my clouds too? Okay. Turn that off. Earth. Jeez Louise. There's earth. There we go. Thank you. How hard can that be? All right, now I'm gonna go to the clouds. Just turning off the earth for right now. Actually, no. I want to show you the earth first. I'm going to show you what's going on in Blender. We've been playing around in the modeling tab. We've played around a little bit in the UV tab. And if we go to the shading tab, what you're seeing is the visual result of your shaded object and the node engine that's creating the shading. This orange image here is your planet texture. If you disconnect the texture from the texture engine, which is the base color, right? There's the base color that we're in. If we disconnect it, that texture is going to go away. So if you reconnect it color to base color, right? Of course, we can get a texture back. So for those of you, I'm assuming everybody in the classroom here is brand new to the node concept. The people online are pretty much used to it in Lightwave. Okay. So what I want to do now is I want to create a transparency where if I go to my cloud texture, all right, let me just turn off the earth for now. Go to the cloud texture. I'll use a transparency map to show through the white areas of the clouds to the planet underneath. All right, I'm going to right click on it and give it a shade smooth. All right, so let's actually do this. I'm going to go and we're going to give it a texture, okay? And I'm going to stay inside of this shading mode. So if you notice, there's nothing in here. It's completely blank. Why? Because we have not even applied a texture to it yet. Now, when I come over to here and apply a brand new texture, watch what happens. Boom. Your texture pops up. It's your principled BSDF texture. So this is the texture that most 3D programs are going to be using. This principled texture here. If you hold your Alt your Command or Control and Alt or Option key together, and click and hold and zoom, you can zoom in and out to your nodes. Hold down Shift and Alt, that allows you to pan. It's the same shortcuts you've been using for everybody else. Now, if for some reason you know it's there but you can't see it, hit A to select all, then the period key in your keyboard to drop it to get it to zoom in automatically. Remember, the period key allows you to zoom in to what's selected. All right, so now let's see if we can do this. That drives me nuts. Okay. Okay, so first of all, we're going to go get that image, right? So let's start by going to the base color. Go get an image texture. The image texture that we want. I got to go back again. It doesn't go back to my last one. Well, it almost does. Let me go back this way. Let me go to my images folder and Earth image maps. And what you want is this one, the Earth clouds, right about there. So when you double click it, this is what you're going to see. So just get to this point. This is usually this is a good workflow. Just start from the color image, and get it on there. What was that? Yours is not showing. Okay, hold on a second. Let me pause recording and come and help you. Right. So hopefully this is going to be right. This is what I was missing last time. I need to bring in a couple extra nodes. One is a mixer node, and the other one is the transparent node. I was missing the mixer node. I brought in the transparent, but forgot to bring in the mixer. To do so, Shift A, and I'm going to go. Let's see, where is my mixer? I can actually search for this here. Up in the search box, I can put an MIX, and it's now that's the texture coordinate. I want a mixer shader. That's what I'm looking for. So hold on a second. Let's do this first. Let's bring in the shader first. So we're going to go to this what's it? The texture. Just go to the shader and go to transparent and bring that in. And the other one is going to be a mixer. And I'm trying to remember where that is. It's under the input mixer. Output, that's material shader. Mixer shader right there. Mix shader right there. Under shader is the mix shader. Under shader is also the transparent BSDF. I'm thinking that hopefully this is going to work. So if I bring in a shader here and drop it in, okay, this is good. It's going to mix it. And then all I'm going to do is take this transparent, and I think I want to bring it into this one here. Let's see what happens. All right, let's try. I'm going to mix it up a little bit and see what happens. Oh, let's see. Hold on a second. Do I have the earth turned off? Let's turn on the earth. And let's try this again. What was that?
So mine just turned black.
Yours turned black. Interesting. Hold on a minute. Let me try this. I'm going to play around with this because I am not giving up. All right, so I was just green to green, actually. Now I'm going to go to the last one. This is the last thing I've got to do, and go to this one here to see what we have. That's interesting. Let me go to the render mode and see if maybe it just needs to be rendered. Gosh, I'm stuck on this one. This is weird. I have done this 50 times, and why in the world? Let's try this shader. This is the mixer shade. There we go. Let's see. I want to take a look at my light source here. It drives me nuts. The thing is, I get forgetful sometimes on how I organize stuff. So I'm gonna come back out here. I want to set up my lights properly. Let me go to my layout to help me out here. This would be a good time to talk about your camera. Do you guys have cameras inside? Do you have a camera right up here in your 3D view?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thanks. So select your camera. If you don't have a camera, Shift A, go to camera, right, and add a new camera right there. To view your camera on your numeric side of your keyboard, hit the 0 key. Now you're in camera viewing mode. Now, there's something you need to do to stay in this mode. So in Lightwave, we can actually view through the camera or move around and spin around and stay viewing in the camera. In Blender, if you start to rotate, it'll jump out of the camera viewing mode. So make sure that once your camera is selected up here, you go to your View tab, the vertical tabs along here, go to your View tab and select Camera to View. So that when you rotate around, now you're going to stay viewing through your camera. You zoom in and out, right? You move it around, you can do that. Okay. Okay, I'm looking at the light source here. Go to my lighting options. Yeah, I'm gonna bring up the light just up to 2000 to see what happens. Okay, I'm gonna go back over to render mode. I should see it even in the text. Oh, there it is. Something's happening. There it is. I'm seeing some color underneath it. All right. I'm going to go back to my shading node. Go to my shading tab here. So I'm seeing it there, but not here. So click on there. Okay, here is my mixer. So I'm thinking, let me see something real quick. I'm out of curiosity. Black and go to my shading mode, see what happens. No. Let's go back up. Turn that back to okay. At this point I'm playing around with it, wondering what the hell's going on. If I pull this down to 0, okay, nothing. If I pull this up to 1, is it giving me complete transparency? Okay, that's interesting. All right, guys, let's see. Here we go. Here, somewhere in between.
Is it possible the cloud object is shading the world object that you're not getting any light on it? That's why it's black when it's completely transparent.
Here, so let me turn on the other object is there. Let me turn this off and on. So let me actually make the cloud object just a little bit bigger, like that. There we go. So we know it should be showing through. So the idea is that this should be the black area only thing we should be seeing is the white clouds. It may be. Oh my gosh, it's just driving me nuts. This is what I did before. Okay, so here, color and the transparency. There's nothing connected to it. Hold on a minute. Huh. Wow. Okay. All right. Evidently, I got to get re-educated on this. Maybe now this is the newer version of Blender. Maybe there's something different that happened that I'm not aware of. But I know this is the setup. So this it's in color base color. Well, you know, the only thing I can think of, guys, is this. Maybe if I put the color image into the alpha right here, let me see what happens. That did something. But then again, that's not what I was expecting to see happen. Okay, that's having an effect. If I bring this back down, I tell you what, I'm going to have an answer for you guys by tomorrow. I'm going to play with this and see what the hell I'm doing wrong. That's the setup. I'm pretty sure that's the setup. Alpha, normal. Hold on a minute. Let's do... surface, that's correct, I'm sure. If I pull this out of here, let's pull this away. Let's try one other thing. Let's go alpha to alpha and see what happens. Ah, driving me nuts. I can't believe I'm screwing this up. Base color. All right, I'll tell you what. We're gonna just export this out. We'll do it without this now. I tell you, we'll accomplish the same thing in Photoshop. Okay, Photoshop has a 3D engine. They're supposed to be eliminating it. They haven't done so yet. So I'm gonna do the same thing in Photoshop. So let's do this. Let's just I'm gonna export it out the way it is. Now, why did that duplicate? Oh, that's there we go. It's just my planet. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, I see. So we turn that off. There's my. So I'm going to select the planet itself. Now you want to export this out. We're going to bring it into Photoshop. So we're going to export this out as an OBJ. And we're going to do so by going to your File menu, Export, and we're going to export it as OBJ right down here close to the center. I'll let you guys get to this point. You got it? Anybody not find it? Talk to me. Did you find the OBJ option? File menu, export OBJ.
Oh, wavefront experimental.
Yeah, I think wavefront with experimental will also work. You should have two of them in there. So if you go to export, let me cancel this out. If you go to File, Export, I've got wavefront experimental, and I also have wavefront OBJ. Either or will work. Yeah, the OBJ, that's the one I chose. When I click it, you get these options. Let's see. Okay, so I need to tell it where to export to. And let's see, I think OBJ, there we go. So I'm going to export mine out to my desktop. So I'm gonna go to my desktop, just somewhere I know I can find it. Class images folder I made earlier. I'm a Planet 2 is fine. And then when I click OBJ, it should have exported out just fine. So basically all we've done is we exported out that sphere. Now we need to find out if the textures came with it. Now, so I'm going to do something else. I'm going to go to File menu, Export, and I'm going to choose to export experimental and see what options it has compared to the OBJ. Okay, so I can export the animations. I can tell it what materials to export as. I'm going to put this back in the same folder, desktop, class images. There's my MTL file. The MTL file is your material locator file. It's basically telling your 3D object how to take your photographic image and wrap it around your planet. That's all that is. It'll be the same name as your OBJ. So I'm going to call this one Planet 2 Experimental based off of the designation of the new plugin. So Experimental. Okay, here's the gotchas. I know this with Photoshop. The textures that I'm using for the surface of this planet has to be in the same folder as the OBJ object. So I'm going to go check it using Windows Explorer. And if I go to, let's say, my desktop and go to my class images folder, there's my OBJ files there. And then there's my material, and there's the JPEG. Well, no, that's not my JPEG. That's somebody else's. That was a student. That's somebody from the class. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go grab the image of the Earth and put it inside this folder. See if Photoshop recognizes it. If it does not, we can always go and reapply it. It's no big deal. So I'm going to do so now. So I'm going to go over to the D drive. Go back over here to my presentations file. Go get the image. West Hills. Let's see, fire hydrant, Wonder Fast. Let's see, I want to go back to Blender modeling class, reference images, tutorials. And I put that under, it should be right there. Go. I'm going to go grab that image. In fact, I'm going to go grab all these images and put it in there just to be safe. Desktop, class images, place it in there. Now I'm going to go get Photoshop. I'm just going to search it real quick so I don't have to go looking for it. Didn't I spell it right? Photoshop, okay. There it is. Opening up Photoshop now. Just watching me on this one. We'll first thing in the morning we'll come back in. I'll have assets set up for you. Then I'll show you how to import it into Photoshop. And then I'll figure out that transparency issue too. Because either I'm doing it wrong or maybe because of the graphics card resource issues, it may be an issue with my system doing it, previewing the results. All right, let me go think. Okay. I'm going to open a new file. I'll just 5x5 is fine. Okay. So I'm going to import in a new 3D object. In Photoshop, I'm going to go to the 3D menu, new 3D layer from file, and it went to my class images folders. There's the planet. I'm going to do the planet 2. Let's double click it and see what happens. Now, this is a good thing, and it's for 3D printing. It's telling me, well, this is the dimensions of your planet. Is that okay? I say yes. Sit back and relax. Let it work its thoughts out. If it brings the textures, I'll be impressed. Okay, Photoshop 3D Fixtures is being this. Okay, Adobe's warning us that eventually we're going to phase out 3D out of Photoshop, right? They haven't done so yet. So let's click OK. Okay, so there's my planet, but it didn't bring in the textures. Right there, it shows you right there that there's a texture associated with it. So if it doesn't, you're gonna go to you got when it becomes a 3D object, you have a 3D a tab here. We click on the 3D tab. There's the material itself, material 1 or 2. I'm going to come right down here. I'm going to pull this up, and I'm going to open up the properties. Right? Come on. Thank you. See the picture of the planet? It knows that planet's supposed to be there. But for some reason, it's not showing it up. If I click on this one, that's looks like another base color. So I'm going to go to this color, and I'm going to go over here to the base color right there. It's not showing the picture of my planet, so I'm simply going to go click on it. And I think I'm going to say just put in a brand new texture, okay? Oh no, I don't want to do that. This is what I want to do. I'm going to close that out for now. See, it's all types of graphics card problems going on here. Things are overlaying that should be gone. So if I come back, base color, replace the texture is what I wanted. Class images, all formats. There it is, the JPEG. Double click it. Sit back and relax. Let's go to my V key for the move tool. All right. The system's freezing up. Nothing's moving. All right, let me show you another way to do this. Yeah, Photoshop has frozen up. It's trying, but it's not quite doing it. All right, let's try this. If all else fails, what we'll do is go to File menu, open up that texture, 3D layers. Actually, I want to go to 3D menu here. I want it as an extrusion. I mean a mesh from preset. Go over to my sphere and create. There it is. It's working. What's happening is my video card is being taxed, and it's not showing me the results. So it's there. See, the planet just turned when I just turned it, but my video card isn't processing what it should be seeing. Now, I did this last night, and it worked fine. But because I've got zoom and a projector, it's going to screw up on us. So I'm going to think of a better way to handle this particular part of the tutorial. I have a better way, but we're not going to do it till tomorrow. But you can see there that is actually, it is working. I want to go, I'm in large thumbnail mode. And that's going to conclude our tutorial today. We're going to handle this differently tomorrow. Now, what I could do is this. Let's try this. Let me shut out Blender. Let me shut out Bridge. Let's shut out everything that's taking a lot of resources. See, if you guys try it on your computer, it'll work. I'm quite sure. In fact, Open up, just out of curiosity, open up Photoshop and open up that planet texture. Let's see if it works. Okay, so now everything's shut down. I'm going to double check. Get everything shut down. And I'm going to go to Photoshop. What was that? I can't hear you. You can't get into Photoshop? Why can't you get into Photoshop? Oh, they want you to use your own Creative Cloud. I was told it was on your system. What do you guys have? You guys have Photoshop? All right, we'll talk to admin tomorrow. All right, let me go ahead and look at Photoshop real quick. I shut everything down. Let's do Photoshop on it, see if we can get it to work. So what I'll do is I'll make the planet on my own tonight, put it in a PSD file so it's already there, let you guys have it, put it online for everybody online to get it, so then you have it. The Photoshop doesn't have to actually render all that stuff. It'll already be done. So we'll handle it that way. Let's give it a hot minute here. Let's see what we can do. All right, so there's the file. Double click it. Open it up. Okay, I'm going to duplicate that file. Command J, it's not that big. 3D menu, mesh from preset, sphere, create. Let's see what happens. There it is. All right, so what I needed to do was to shut down everything. So my resources came back. Go to my layers, turn off that one on the bottom. See? I should be able to rotate this image around, which I am. It should be in real-time rotation. So go here, target the sphere itself, and rotate it. There you go. This is a graphics card resources. It's being taken up. When I was working on this last night, it was smooth. It was moving smoothly. So it's just I'm at the limit. I'm at my limit. I've got zoom. I've got zoom. I've got the projector, and I've got Camtasia recording everything off my screen. So I'm pretty much maxed out on my video card resources. But let me see if I go to my light source here. Yep, I'm not even getting my icons for my 3D lights coming up, so I'm not even going to go there. So we'll use this image. I'll pull something together tomorrow, then we'll do something different in Photoshop. So I suppose if I had like the state-of-the-art newest laptop with the biggest graphics card in it, I wouldn't have a problem. But that costs money. All right, so tomorrow we'll be in Photoshop. Any questions? And I'll figure out that transparency problem inside of Blender and see what's going on. It could be the same problem. It could be my resources are taking up so much that it just was not displaying. So I'm gonna just chalk it up to that for now. when I go back home tonight, I won't have that resource issue, and I'm gonna see if it's gonna work. And I guarantee you, it will. Any questions from anybody online? Let's see.
Yeah, one question.
Yeah, sure.
When I exported the objects, it exported all the objects in that scene. Is there a way to specifically export a certain object? I had Planet highlighted when I exported it.
Yes,
but
absolutely. Here, let me go back to Blender. That's a great question, actually. Let me go back to Blender. Get it to open up. So say, for example, his question is, what if I have multiple objects in the scene? What if I only want to, I only want to export a certain amount of objects or one object over everything else? You can do that. So I'm going to go ahead, Shift A, put a cube, Shift A, put a sphere, move it to the side, Shift A, put a cylinder, move that to the side. Okay, so by default, file menu export, OBJ. By default, it's going to export everything unless you hit this checkbox that says selection only.
Okay.
Right there. Trust me, I missed that the first time too.
Yeah.
When I was exporting stuff for 3D printing, and I was exporting everything I had in my layers and not the one I had selected. So if I select that one and have selections only, or if I select this one, have selections only, it'll export those two, or that one, whichever one got selected.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, so I'm gonna go back. I want to test that Blender thing with those cloud issues, and I know what the problem is with Photoshop, definitely, and it may be the same problem with Blender. So I'll verify that tonight. All right, that's it. I'm going to stop recording.